So welcome everybody to today's City Council meeting for June 6, 2025, expressly for interviewing committee applicants. We will start today with the Pledge of Allegiance. Andrew, would you like to lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 2 is instructions on exiting the building in case of an emergency and review of our technology options. Jesse Baker.
Thank you. So for folks in the room, you can go down the stairs to the left or right getting outside. If you go to the left, walk down all the way through the staff portion and go down the stairs on that side. For those participating remotely, thank you for joining us as well. When your interview comes up, the chair will call on you, and I think I'm going to have to then allow you to share your screen or to turn on your camera. So be on the lookout for that request. If you would like to speak during any other item on the agenda, you can raise your hand and the chair will call on you. Other than that, we are not monitoring the chat for content.
Thank you, Jesse. Agenda review, are there any additions, deletions, or changes in the order of the agenda items today? I'll take that as a no. Thank you. Item 4, comments and questions from the public not related to this agenda. Are there any by counselors or from the public, either online or in the room? Okay. All right, we will now start with item 5, which is conduct interviews for city appointed boards and committees. And we're going to start with the library board and Elizabeth Wells. Is she on?
Yes.
Great.
Oh, she's. Let's see.
Just hold on one second while we try to bring up your personage.
Okay.
Can you turn your camera on now?
Sure.
There you go.
All right. Can you see me okay?
Just one of my week.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us today. You're interested?
Yes, yes. Thank you. Yeah. Making time. Was there a question?
Hold on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're getting there. We're just getting set up.
Yeah, no. That's great. That's great.
The system rebooted overnight and I lost the model. Where is the spreadsheet that has all of the whole spreadsheet? Was that? Sure.
No, you mean,
You know, all of the spreadsheets, you know, for the, you know, that it had the dates in it, the column dates. Was that in an email?
Was it the SharePoint?
In here? Unless there's a, oh, here we go. Okay, correct. There's a tab. I didn't realize there's a tab. There we go. Okay, all right. Almost there. Getting there.
No problem.
Okay,
Yeah.
we see you now.
Okay, great. On paper and hopefully physically or on Zoom.
So would you care to tell us something about yourself and why you're interested in this committee position?
Sure, yeah. I am I'm a primary care provider here in South Burlington. And I just see I was gonna say, I just see the benefits of the library and the community and how it serves our community, both all ages. I see only adults. The resources that the library offers people is just amazing, and it's such a vital part of our community. It's such a thread and a sort of in the bloodstream of our community. And so I just wanted to kind of give back. I don't have, I have healthcare things to share, but I don't really have a lot of like things to completely offer other than sort of ideas and thoughts about the community engagement. And so a friend of mine said, "Oh, you should sort of look into this, the library committee." And I thought, I love the library. So it's more of just seeing, the positive impact it has on our community and wanting to share and help foster that, I think.
Have you had any experience working in libraries before or volunteering with libraries?
Oh, volunteering, yes. The sort of when my kids were young, kind of volunteering, getting things organized in the library for we used to live in southern Vermont. And they had sort of a parent thing to help organize. But no, I've never officially been sort of an official volunteer on the library or done anything with libraries.
Are there any particular things that you like to accomplish on the library board? Like any programs or any outreach? Is there something that you're thinking about that, hey, this would be really cool, or?
Well, a couple of things. One is I love the fact that libraries can offer discounts on various things. So again, community outreach, and I think a lot of people don't know that you can get sort of what is it, trail passes to national parks and stuff through, or at least my experience in southern Vermont, it was you could get Montshire Museum passes or
Right.
things through, or discounted through the library.
I didn't know that.
Oh dear. Well, so that's something I would love to, because it's wonderful. It just allows, again, more access to museums, to, you can also take out, I don't know, again, but cross-country skis in the winter, you can take out things like that. And so that would be something that would be, I think, interesting to work on. I also love the South Burlington Library in that they have the recording sort of studio or the recording room, and I really love storytelling and or having people have access to something. There's so many things online about memorializing your history or your stories, personal stories, and I love that they have that at the SB library. So maybe fostering that.
Have you attended any of their meetings?
No. I have not. I've been very, very busy, and now I'm like my kids are sort of, one is going to college, so I'm feeling less busy. So, but I'm not, no, to be honest.
Oh, you're gonna have a lot more free time now.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a tangent question.
Yes.
As a second choice, you put down recreation and parks.
Yes, that is true.
Are you equally interested, or do you have a reasonable interest in Parks and Rec? I'm asking in part because we have a lot of applicants for the library committee, and we're a little low on applicants for Parks and Rec. So if that's something you're interested in.
Well, totally interested in that. I have so many, again, having kids growing up in the South Burlington part, I feel like, there's such a need for that and programs, and I love how what I see now. I was doing the running club on Saturdays, and I think, oh my gosh, there's so many things going on in the parks, and we have so many parks and access
Yeah, but
to parks.
that run is at 8:30 a.m. How can you do that?
Oh my, I get up at 5.
I wanted it was like too early.
Yeah.
But it's a great program. Yeah.
It's a great program. I did it all throughout the winter. For some reason now in the summer or better weather, it's a little harder for me to do it. But yeah.
So that sounds like a yes, interested.
So yes, interested. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, we do have an embarrassment of riches for the library board.
Oh, well, that's great. Oh, good. Yeah, no, I'm interested in that too. I mean,
Super.
Do you know anybody Do you know anybody on the board of trustees at all?
I know Rebecca Stasi. I don't know, where does she do? Do you know her?
No, I'm just asking if you have connections to people on the board today.
No.
That's what you knew. Okay.
No.
Do you have any questions for us about process or any other questions?
Oh, well, I guess the question is sort of what does, well, this might be a long-winded thing and I could also research it, but what are you looking for? Or what is the volunteer commitment? Actually, that I think I can research that, but yeah, I don't think so. I think on your website and what I read getting into this answered a lot of the questions.
Yeah, so I mean, you know how often they meet, for how long they meet, and I don't know if they have subcommittees or,
They do have a
Yeah.
finance committee or
Yeah.
communications committee.
Right.
Yeah.
so they have a whole, they have a few things that they have to manage all year long.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was a trustee for 6 years, starting in
Okay.
2004.
All right.
Back
Yeah.
when it was at the high school.
Oh, wow. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and Dora Whittier had these big posters of what a future library would look like, and we went, how much does that cost? We're like, no.
Oh my God.
And
Yeah.
here we are.
Here we are, and it's beautiful. Yeah.
So we're gonna make our decision on June 16th,
Okay.
and we let people know one way or the other.
Okay. Perfect.
So thank you very much for applying and meeting with us today.
You bet. Thank you. Enjoy.
Have a nice weekend. It will be
Yeah.
sunny tomorrow.
Yes. Good. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Next up is Theodore Lenski for the DRB. Come up and have a seat.
Thank you. How are you?
Fine, thank you for coming today.
Yeah.
Just, and, so you're applying for the DRB and, oh, you have been the treasurer of the board of trustees. So, all right, you know some people there.
Yes, I do.
He's also the incoming chair of the trustees.
That's right, that's right. Okay. Are you're not in the DRB now?
No, I'm not.
No, okay, I'm just trying to read the sentence that,
Yeah.
okay. Where were you a mechanical engineer?
I graduated from the University of Pennsylvania, 1990, 35 years in industry, and recently fully retired this year.
87 UPenn.
Oh, wow. Where'd you live?
Oh, many major places. I started out in Butcher Basement
Okay, you're a
and then moved to the towers, whatever they're called.
High Rise North and
High Rise South. Yeah.
Around the same time.
You were speaking?
I have friends in
Oh,
Speakman. I was at Maskinwig and I was at
Okay.
Smith.
We'll have to catch up.
Yeah, we will.
I was also an engineer.
Yeah, so mechanical engineer, worked in the chemical manufacturing industry for all companies for my career. Experience in sales and marketing, distribution, and my last 15 years were running large manufacturing operations of 500 people.
Have you applied for things before?
I
Yeah,
applied for
I
the
think I've
DRB
heard this resume
yeah.
before, yeah.
23, I applied for the DRB as well.
What interests you about the DRB?
Well, now that I'm in a fully retired status, I have more time on my hands. And I think as part of that transition from a high-paced job that I had 24/7, 365, things coming at me, I'm looking for those opportunities to engage even more with the community. I love South Burlington. We moved up here to retire. As I came here, I've enjoyed the community, and being involved in the library has been a tremendous part for me in the community. And now being fortunate enough, assuming the board members will elect me as chair, I think that's the plan. I really am looking forward to being the chair of the library board. But I also am looking to engage the thinking process that I did as part of a leader, developing strategic planning, budgeting, interpreting regulations, engaging with the community. I mean, our license to operate as a manufacturer came from the community. So I really like engaging with the community, and now it's my time to give back. They gave me a lot to be a part and be a successful career so I could retire when I wanted to. And we always knew that. Our license to operate came from the community, and I feel as I gave to the community as part of my job, I need to give back even more. And I'm looking at your economic plan and your strategic plan. finding engaged leaders out in the plant, out in the public is really what you're looking for. And that's what I'd really like to do. And I think the DRB could be one of those avenues.
You mentioned interpreting regs. Was that part of your?
Oh, yeah, from an OSHA perspective, predominantly.
OSHA, okay.
So, because I was responsible for the safety of the 500 people.
Oh, okay.
And that was, probably the most stressful component of my job was at any time of day, something could come up and I had to take care of that individual, that family, and I was ultimately responsible. And understanding the regs, how the regs changed, interpreting those regs, that is a big thing. And then I was also involved in union negotiations as well. So I've been very familiar with contract negotiations, interpreting contract language, all those things. So trying to find that avenue that I think would make sense to engage. My mind is still moving at a very, very fast pace. And I think I'm looking for those things to keep that going, and the energy is still there to do that. And that's really what I'm looking for.
Have you attended any DRB meetings yet?
I've looked at meeting minutes. I've not attended any.
Minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
I've reviewed them just to see some of the general process that they go through.
Do you understand that process
Um,
basically, or?
I think I have a general idea, but clearly I may not know the specifics of the ins and outs of it.
Yeah.
But I'm familiar again with just the cadence and the right, all that maybe go into it. And I've, done stuff before with other organizations in the Maryland OSHA, for example. I
Yeah.
would go to their hearings and be engaged.
So developer applicant comes to planning and zoning, right, and submits a sketch plan, and that has no legal status, but it goes before DRB. They take a look at it, they give feedback, and then they finish that process.
Right.
They come back with a preliminary plan, and it goes through, and they finally get a final plat plan. So there's two chances for the DRB to weigh in. And planning and zoning prepares this huge packet, right, with all the elevations, all the topo maps, all of the diagrams, all the schematics, right? And says that, these are the regulations that apply to all these things. Here are the couple things the DRB needs to weigh in on, right? And that's the chance for the DRB to talk and communicate with the developer.
And I think, again, combining my engineering background, combining my dealing with interpreting language, trying to balance all aspects of that throughout. There's really, at times, it may not be a clear decision. There's interpretation going on, and to bring a balanced, an intelligent emotional response to it. It's not impulsive. It is well thought out, trying to hear both sides, gather the facts, and try and look at the information to make the right interpretation for all parties involved, is really to trying to balance it. And I've had a lot of experience with that, dealing with union contracts a lot, but then also trying to help with OSHA, with their main mission of OSHA was to protect safety of workers, but also try and balance that in, obviously, in the working environment as well.
As a non-judicial, as a semi-judicial, quasi-judicial entity, it really is a regulatory job, and it's looking at, does this meet the regulations as they're laid out, rather than saying, I don't like what you're doing, or wouldn't you like to do this? And it sounds like you've had good experience with interpreting regulations and following compliance.
Yeah, and I think, again, I can only go on the experience I've had, not obviously specifically this, but interpreting an OSHA regulation, there is an intent and there's a background as to what that intent is.
Yeah.
And we had to apply that and make sure we complied with that intent. And there are ways you can interpret a certain word and everything, and we would give feedback to OSHA about that, and they would help clarify it. So it becomes this conversation that goes on while you're still complying with what they intended. You can also help with that, and that's an iterative process, and it's an open ear listening session, and not, again, shutting it down. We're just going to do this. It has to be a collaborative type of approach. I think I've learned that over the years.
You know anybody on the board now?
I do not.
In terms of collaborative, I mean, obviously, you must be good at it if what you said is going to play out on the trust, being like the chair. But again, in this, I think Laura's question was an excellent question, and we've heard this with other people. Accepting that it's maybe not what you would always prefer, but it's what the rules are to apply. But it's also coming to agreement with your other board members that you have that consensus. Your experience in that, because it sounds like you've been in a lot of leadership positions. What about sort of flat across the board as a commission, as a group?
Well, I think one of the things I on the library board of trustees, obviously, we worked in a collaborative way. So I've learned that over the years as being the treasurer. When I first joined the board, I was put as treasurer and managed that, and we collaboratively worked through that. If I also look at my leadership skills, my leadership style tended to be a very collaborative leadership style. Where if we were interpreting something, we would try to clarify. Ultimately, I'm the leader of the group. I would influence that decision if I felt that way, but it was really to try and bring that in. So anytime I've been on any boards or any commissions or any groups that have been involved in trying to focus on an issue, it is really focused on trying to gather the facts, interpret the relevant information together and put out a decision. It may not be the most popular decision, but it is the one governed by the information that's available. And you have to get that and build consensus and be collaborative on that approach.
Any other questions?
Ted, what's your term on the library board now?
Time through 2027, so
So this would be concurrent.
this would be concurrent.
So I have two questions. So, I take it you think you have time to be the chair of the board and be on the DRB?
Very much so. Yeah, I feel
You're ready to
multiple things coming at me at my pace where I'm at. I feel comfortable about that.
What do you like about South Burlington?
Oh my gosh. Well, we first visited in 2012. We were looking for a place to retire. We came up here, just fell in love with the people was the first thing I think that struck us. Coming from, I grew up in Philadelphia, and coming from growing up in Philadelphia, there's a Philly style. You probably sensed it when you went to school in Philly. Very, very nice people, but again, quick pace, could be a little brusque potentially. Up here, everyone was very kind, considerate, and looking out for the community. We moved up here on March 30th, 2020, the day before. everything passed.
Wow, what a
So we came up and right as lockdown, it was pre-planned, and we got the mover in. The mover had to be out in Vermont by that night, moved our stuff in
Oh my
garage. We had
God.
2 weeks to move in. And it was amazing how many people just were trying to figure this whole thing out and watching us move in and unpack. The best time to unpack, by the way, during a lockdown of COVID, we got moved in really, really well. I moved 5 times in my life and never did anything better. But that was when it impressed on us was everyone in the community just came to welcome us.
Wow.
We were outsider, but they knew we were looking for them. We were just receptive. So my wife and I, daughter lives in the New North End. We just love it up here, outdoors, activities and everything. I couldn't have imagined anything better.
Oh, that's great.
That's
Wow,
wonderful.
that's wonderful. We have a similar story. We should get together.
We should.
You have any
A
questions?
few other
for us?
pen grads up here too.
You have any questions for us?
No, I didn't. I appreciate every time I come in front of the board looking for opportunity. I'm looking forward to be the chair of the library board. I know we got some exciting things coming up that are very important to the community, and can't wait to work with Jesse through those.
So as we've said, June 16th, we make our decision.
Yep.
Let you know either way.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
All right, have a good evening.
Thanks.
Have a great weekend.
Two. Next up is John Moscatelli, another applicant for the DRB. Is he online?
The kids online.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
We can, we're doing some
Working
technical
on the video,
controls right now.
skittish about this system.
Are you able to share your camera?
Still says disabled.
Yes. I also.
I'm not that much to look at, so.
We're working on it.
Some of us know what you look like.
What about now?
It seems to work.
Thanks for your patience.
No problem. How's everybody doing?
Good, good. John, thanks for reapplying for the DRB. You've been on 2 years, right?
Correct.
Yeah. How's it going?
Great. Yeah, it's been good. I think as a board, we functioned very well. Your last couple of appointments have worked out very nicely.
You enjoying it?
Absolutely.
You've had some interesting applicants, have some interesting appeals over the last 2 years, I would suppose.
There have been a few. From what I understand from staff, the volume is actually a little slower than we've seen in the past, as you've had a couple of pretty big LDR changes,
Yep.
which may have slowed things down, and the interest rate spiking hasn't helped. But yeah, we've had a couple.
Yep.
Airport's very busy.
What is busy?
Airport.
Oh, airport. Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah, yeah. Well, as we know from Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Very busy. What would you say is a good accomplishment by the DRB in terms of a nice project that's turned out in the last 2 years that you think highly of?
Well, it's kind of interesting because a lot of stuff is moving pretty slowly. So a lot of the stuff that we've approved, we haven't really seen materialize yet, in 2 years. Again, I think working with the airport has been good. They've been very receptive. I think we've got a good solution for a lot of the expansion projects they're working on there. So that's been a good one. We had a couple of visits from Beta. So we've been able to work with them to get them what they need so they can continue to expand. So that's good, and obviously meeting all the requirements. We've rolled through a couple of these LDR changes, and I think we've adapted to that pretty well. So like I said, overall, I think the board is functioning well.
Good. Any questions?
I got a question for you, John. As a DRB member, you've been working on the regulatory side. You also put down second choice planning commission, which is on the policy side.
Correct.
And so they're like opposite sides of the coin that you've been working with. What's your level of interest in being on the policy side as opposed to the regulatory side?
Well, as I doubt you recall, but when I originally applied, I applied for planning. And you had a bunch of applicants for planning and you were short on DRB and said, hey, would you be interested? And I was, and I am, and that's great. But yeah, I still am interested in the planning board. Be happy to do that if you have a need for me over there. It is, as you said, it's quite different. Instead of just adjudicating, we're actually trying to form policy. So it's a little different, but it's very interesting. I did that in my previous where we lived before. For 6 years, I was on the planning board. So yes, I would be interested if there is an opening you're looking to fill there. Certainly, you can consider me for that, and I'd be enthusiastic.
And so if you were on the planning commission, could you give us a sense of your perspective on how the town is doing, if you're familiar with our current state of regulations, do you think they're, if you were making policy, are they the policy that you think works? Like, I don't know, what's your sense of it?
I thought the last round of trying to clarify and reduce the volume of the regulation was absolutely a step in the right direction. I've been very pleased with the direction that we've been going, trying to facilitate more green building practices, eliminating fossil fuels and requiring solar. That sort of thing has been excellent. I would just kind of as a philosophical matter, love to see the zoning move more towards a European model. The US in general has this thing where we have housing here and then we have business over there. And in order to get to the business, you have to get in your car and drive. Whereas in Europe, it's more of a village concept where you have smaller businesses, coffee shops, daycare centers, dry cleaners, small markets, things like that, integrated within the housing. So there is actually some place to walk to do something and reduce those car trips, and you get more of a kind of a community feeling around certain neighborhoods.
PUD's probably going that direction, but yeah.
So I'd love to see us move in a direction more towards that. I know we have some of that built in, but certainly in the DRB, I haven't seen a whole lot of applications come forward yet that are really trying to take advantage of that. Usually they're kind of scratching their heads thinking, well, what kind of use can we put here? Rather than, wow, how can we make the most of this opportunity to really make a neighborhood that's a little more self-contained. So that's an area I'd like to see us move in that direction. And in general, like I said, yeah, anything we can do to simplify the process. I'm not one that places development above regulation, development at any cost. But I do think we want to try and make things as streamlined as possible. We recently had a little celebration for Mark Baer, who's a board member who's been on for 20 years, and Tim was there for that. And I thought it was interesting. Paul Connor put together some little statistics over things that had happened over Mark's 20 years on the board. And he asked us to guess how many LDR changes there had been. And I could be wrong, but I think the number was 37 in 20 years. That's a lot of changes for developers and things to keep up with and synthesize, and retraining of city staff and engineers and landscape architects and all that sort of thing. So I think that's something that we also might want to look at, is how often we're changing those LDRs, because it does impact the developers and how fast they can get projects moving, and having to, kind of go back to square one and restart and re-engineer. And so I think that's something that to be conscious of.
And follow up on your concept of, more self-contained neighborhoods. I've spent most of my life in Europe, and most of my life I've walked to most of the activities I've done in my life, or jumped on public transit. But I see, just in terms of just how we are physically built here, and also just habits of people are two sort of challenges to change. And so what are some of and I know we have the PUDs, but I've also heard discussions, and it's sort of spoken about as, really, do we have a truck come in to take the garbage away? Or if there's a cafe, will there be rats there? I mean, all, concerns that people have who have never experienced this, and to say that, they can be side by side and actually be very adding to your life. What would be some of the sort of policy things, or is it just more of an education or experience thing for people who maybe not have seen how this can work?
Well, I think there are two things. I mean, one, the policies have to be in place to allow it. And really, right now, I'm not sure that we necessarily would allow building kind of light commercial, light retail right in a housing area. They're different uses, different zones. We can't be building, we can't build that little strip mall with a coffee shop in it in a residential zone. And we still do that. We're still set up where we're segregating those uses considerably. So I think we would need to facilitate that, and then, explain to people that there are a lot of benefits. There might be a few drawbacks, but in general, there are a lot of benefits to be able to walk to your neighborhood coffee shop or your neighborhood market or something like that. And I think that also moves in the direction that we'd like to see, as far as addressing climate change and reducing carbon emissions and that sort of thing as well, and fostering a more bikeable, walkable community.
Elizabeth, any questions?
No, I'm impressed with your background. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
I don't think you have any questions for us, but do you have any?
No, I pretty much know what's entailed with the job, so happy to continue to do it if you want to keep me or move me, whichever works.
You let people know one way or the other by June 16th.
Sounds good.
Thank you, John. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. You guys have a good day.
You too. Take
John.
care. Next up is a housing committee applicant, Derek Eddy.
Yep.
We're getting there. We're gonna enable your video in a second.
Alrighty. Sounds good.
All right, give it a try.
There we go.
We see you. How are you doing?
You're proud of yourself.
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
We're good.
Good.
We're good.
Good.
So you're interested in the housing committee. You work for Silver Lake.
I do work for Silver Lake. Yes.
Does Ted really work at Silver Lake?
He is still working at Silver Lake. Yeah.
Good for him.
He
I
just
saw him
keeps
Tuesday
on
night.
trucking. Oh,
He
did
asked me
you?
when I'm gonna retire. I'm like, I don't know. When are you gonna retire?
Right. Back and forth. Good questions. Yeah. You went to the airport. Was there was a function there, right?
There was a big function. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. I heard it was
We don't
good.
have enough time to tell you about it because it would take a long time.
I would imagine.
Why don't you tell us about yourself and why you're interested in the housing committee?
Alrighty. Well, again, I'm a financial advisor at Silver Lake Wealth Management. I've lived in South Burlington for roughly 11 and a half of the last 12 and a half years. And again, like most people, I'm looking to kind of, get out a little bit more in the community and kind of see what I can do to help, kind of in any way that either this committee or I also applied to the Recreation and Park Committee. So, that's pretty much it. I'm here to do what I can do.
Any questions specifically right now?
From the housing perspective, what do you see as the challenges for us as a city and the discussion that has to be had to address that challenge?
Yeah, again, obviously affordable housing is still kind of one of the big challenges. Speaking of that, I was actually at the Green Mountain Habitat for Humanity, helping to build the house in Winooski there about a week or so ago. So that was good. And then as far as how would we, get more affordable housing, it'd probably be still some kind of incentivized, from builders' perspective, from town perspective, as kind of helping out, so that the cost could be, more reasonable for some of the lower income families.
Do you have insight into the financing of large scale housing projects, either for profit or nonprofit?
I'd say small amount. I'm a partial owner of a couple small buildings, and one's in Millbury and one's in Rutland. So slight familiarity there, but nothing in large scale commercial big big operations.
Yeah. So you have the perspective of a landlord.
Yes, I definitely have that perspective. Yep.
Do you have any opinions about the speed with which South Burlington is trying to build housing right now?
Again, it looks like it's picked up a little bit, but I think it could still definitely use, a faster pace. I actually live in the new Hillside East area on the net zero housing. So I've seen how they've put up, several houses there and townhouses, and how they're still building more. Though only some of it is, affordable kind of housing.
You have a Mitsubishi cold climate heat pump there?
I have 2 of them. Yep.
How'd they work over the winter?
They worked pretty well. The bill got a little higher in January, but still not too bad. They worked well, and they have backup. There's like a heat unit to it, so in case it gets too cold for the unit to be working well, it'll kick in and add some extra heat. So otherwise,
what kicks in, a resistance heater?
Yeah, it's like
yeah,
Okay.
it's got 2 of those, so one for each of my Mitsubishi, which is
So
the
what was your
duct.
January bill, and how many square feet do you have?
I mean, I'm open to say I don't mind, but
It's a house. I understand anyway.
What's your grocery bill?
yeah, right, yeah, exactly. What's my shoe
Fair
bill?
question,
Yeah.
but it's a housing question, because they're building this whole
Yeah.
fully electrified development on the other side of the hill.
Yep.
But he's pushing heat pumps. I'm just curious,
Yeah.
did his
No,
bill double in January, or did it go by 30%?
It probably doubled from the lowest part. But the way they work the system with Green Mountain Power is it's a 12-month same bill. I mean, you can do it otherwise. You can do it pay by bill, but they started with, X amount a month is what you pay, and then at the end of the year they kind of shore up
Right.
if you're over or under, and then readjust.
How about the rec and parks part of your application? What sparks your interest there?
Again, just I think just the aspect of more outside, trails and use spaces sounds good to me, because again, I like to get out. I don't bike so much, but I like to get out, do some hikes and walks, take the dog out for a stroll.
What's your favorite park?
My favorite park, it's probably the one that I go to the most, but it's not so much probably how you would think. I like Carnes, because I go there weekly to play hockey. So I like that. I've used the soccer field there several times in the past, and then it looks like they've got a nice venue there for some outside concerts and stuff.
Any other questions?
All good.
So Derek, do you have any questions for us about process or anything in general?
No, not really. I mean, I'm pretty easygoing and I could, figure it out quick enough if, if I were on it. So not too worried about that. So I think I'm all set.
Okay, and we make a decision by June 16th and we let you know one way or the other.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
Thanks for applying.
Very much.
All right.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Marty Reed for the library board. Here, hold on a second.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Great, good.
Thanks for applying and thanks for joining us today for the interview. How are you today?
Fine, fine. Enjoying the weather.
Yeah, well, it's been so long since it rained, I forgot what it was like.
Yeah.
That's right.
You want to tell us about yourself and why you're interested in the board?
Sure. I'm a retired librarian. I had a 40+ year career in a few different states. All but the last decade of that career were in public libraries. So I know public libraries really well. I've done everything from children's librarian, reference, library director, and then I ended my career at the Department of Libraries as the Vermont State Librarian. So lots of experience in libraries. I worked with the Library Foundation when they were doing the fundraising for the new library, did some grant writing for them. So, and of course, I'm a regular library user as well.
Have you attended any of their meetings?
The trustees, I have not, no.
Do you know anybody on the board?
I worked just briefly with Anne Lamond. She was on the I think she was on the foundation board, maybe.
Okay. Does the council have some questions?
Given the wealth of experience you have and looking at the library, what do you see sort of its strengths, but also what are some of the challenges or opportunities that are still there? Because I think we broadly all love what's going on, but there's always questions that are all parts of our community seeing the opportunities or seeing what they need or want in it.
I think one of my main interests for applying now is the what's happening at the federal funding level. So the federal funding for libraries in Vermont goes to the Department of Libraries, and the state library administers that. And two of the programs that directly affect our library here, where that federal funding cut would be a real challenge. The first thing is the interlibrary loan, which allows local residents to borrow from any library across the country. And that's really important for small libraries. And even though our library is one of the larger library collections in the state public library, it's still limited, and residents need access to all kinds of information, business, jobs, health, whatever, mystery stories. And that's all gained through interlibrary loans. So that funding and the statewide delivery system is at risk. And I do worry about that, because I think that's having that access for every citizen is critical. So that I'm worried about. That's a challenge. Budgeting, of course, is always a challenge. I think we have a terrific library. I went to all of those planning sessions that you did before the library was, you were developing the final imprint of that library, and was really impressed with the community input. I loved how the board and the town worked together to put those sessions together. Thought they were really effective. And the promise from those has been delivered, and all those meeting spaces are always used every time I go in there, and the technology opportunities are just terrific. So I think the board, from my perspective on the outside, I try to keep my hands out of this for a while. So I've been retired now for 7 years, and I feel like I can jump back in without feeling like I'm looking over the shoulder of the director.
If you were on the board, what would you want to do with the DVD collection?
Well, I haven't looked at the statistics for use, but I think that, I mean, that's probably the first place you'd go. You'd look and see, are these used? I think probably before the DVD, it's probably the audiobook collection. You know, now because that's all downloadable now, I think a lot of people are using either ebooks or that. So, yeah.
It's a pretty incredible DVD collection, but I think a lot of people are like, where do I play it? I can't put it in my phone. That's not gonna work, so.
Yeah, we're definitely a streaming streaming culture.
Are you a Canopy user?
You know, I don't. I've never used it. I get the, you know, the emails and I look through those, but I have to confess I just go to Netflix or PBS.
Okay. Other questions?
But I think it's a great service. I hope again, I don't know the statistics. I hope a lot of people are using that.
Yeah, I've used it a few times, but they have some idiosyncrasies, like once you start a movie, if you pause it overnight, you lose it. And you only get 2 tickets, I think, or it takes, anyway, it's like a ticket-based system, and based on the library's subscription payment that they make, every patron only gets so many tickets, so.
Yeah, it's probably a licensing with all those producers. Yeah, it's tricky.
It's a pretty rich trove of you know, video though. So anyway.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Any other questions at all? Do you have any questions for us or about process?
No, I did. First of all, it's just a pleasure to meet you all. I never get to meetings, but just as a South Burlington resident, I've been here 24 years. I came here from Colorado, and it's just a pleasure to live in this community. Just lots of great things going on. So thank you.
I agree, and I think we agree. Probably.
Yes, thank you.
So we make a decision by June 16th, and we'll let you know one way or the other.
Okay, great. Thanks for your time.
And thank you for coming today. That's great.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Next up is somebody named Lisa Yankowski. Did I pronounce that correctly? Come on down.
That was a good question you had, because I am not completely sold on the
streaming.
no, the heaters. The
okay, you're not yet.
Heat pumps.
Being a Vermonter, knowing how our winters can get, yeah. I'm not completely sold on all electric cars either.
What was it?
Well, batteries don't hold their power in cold. I would be opposed to hybrid.
On my bill, so I'm on Vermont gas with a forced hot air, and I think my February bill was the highest I've ever paid, and it came this close to $200 for a 2,600 square foot house.
See, I do pre-buy propane.
It was really cold in February, right?
Yeah,
it was like consistently through the whole month. So I mean, it's all about just what the temperature is for how long, right?
We've got 9 years without an electricity bill, and everything in our house is electric. And we have the heat pump, and we have been cold.
I'm not opposed to solar, but they won't put solar panels on my house.
Because you have too many trees.
No.
But anyway, let's get back to
back to business.
So you're an incumbent in the Natural Resources
Yeah.
Committee right now, and you're applying to, again, tell us about what you've enjoyed about being on the committee and what do you think you've accomplished that's important?
Well, actually, our group worked with the city, so we do have some of the ash trees getting treated in between while they're removing and replanting. We have some very passionate members on our committee. And We've got a committee member working with CRO as a rep from the natural resources. That's not me, but I did meet with the CRO group, so I'm excited that they're gonna be developing management plans and stuff. I mean, Red Rocks has one, but it needs tweaking. But I did meet with them to let them know about, some of the issues that we have down there. Had a very busy Memorial Day down there. I didn't get a lot of yard work done. I had to keep running up to control traffic. Because it was a nice day and everybody wanted to be out in the woods. I think it's really important, we've got a lot of developing going on. We need to be aware of the fact that we do need to protect our natural resources, not overbuild, make sure people have access to it. But I also think South Burlington's done a really good job because we've got a lot of great parks and a lot of good open space. And we need to maintain it. We need to protect it because I know like our park is under assault a lot. And, I try to remind when I'm talking to people down there, if they're from South Burlington, like this is your park, enjoy it, have fun. I got in an argument one night with somebody who's like, I know the rules for parks. This is dark. The park was officially closed. And I said, people aren't supposed to be parked out here in front. And she's like, I know the rules. I'm a paralegal. I know all the rules in Burlington. I'm like, this isn't Burlington. So, we have a lot of that. But I think that our city's done a really good job. And I think it's good that the natural resources is keeping an eye on things. And we try to work with a lot of the other groups as well. I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, no. And you helped work on the tree plan that we
Yes.
didn't take up right away, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you thought that was a good process to go through and that the outcome was good?
It is, yes. And I know we've got some, part of our group is trying to get the tree ordinance changed. So we're going to be looking at that a little bit, and I understand where they're coming from. It's from a good place in their hearts, trying to protect old growth trees, old trees. And I think it's good having people like myself to sometimes play the devil's advocate and remind them, trees have a lifespan and they're not going to live forever. And I found what the gentleman was saying about with the changes with the LDRs. We've tried to put a few changes in there to give a heads up to developers of if they were coming to us to see what we thought of a development plan, where we would be looking, things that we would look at to save them having to do a lot of changes so they could build it into the plans originally. And I had talked to Mr. Pearl one time when he was talking about putting in a noise abatement berm down in the Farrell Street area. And he was talking about, trees, planting trees to use. And he's talking about using all the same kind of tree. And I'm like, why would you use all the same kind of tree? I said, they're going to be all the same age. They're going to be all the same height. They're all going to die at the same time. And the ash tree issue, that's a good example of that. So now they're using different variety of trees to replace the ash trees with.
I know that berm very well.
Yeah.
The Hadley Road berm. Yeah, and it's covered with trees.
Thank you, Frank Goldman.
And so does Frank. Yep, and so did a couple other neighbors that were on Hadley Road as well. Yeah. And it's a pretty effective screen. I mean, it was within like 5 years because they planted some pretty big trees in it, but some have already died, just from whatever the soil,
Yeah,
But,
and you've got to take care of stuff. It's like, I think with the background I have for, I do have a biology degree. I have an education degree. It was for little kids, but I actually teach educate a lot of adults. But educating people on plant care. And it's like, if I'm talking to a customer and they're asking about, I've got potted plants, it's like, remember to keep watering them till you can get them planted. Because people forget things like that. It's the same with trees, especially the first year. You've got to be there. You've got to water them. You've got to take care of them. Once they're settled in, then usually they can go on their own. But they do need that care at the beginning, and I think a lot of people, they may not realize it or they don't think about it. So that's one of the things we look at. I know we're looking now at like pesticide, herbicide use. Like where I live, I can't use any of that. I'm in the water zone for my neighborhood. There are environmentally friendlier ways to handle that. I have a natural yard. But I know there are people like in developments that have a fit over another neighbor who may want this pristine lawn, and they've got all these chemicals going in. It's like, what are these chemicals doing? Where are they going?
I think South Village has a covenant against using 2,4-D on any of their property at all, because it's so close to the farm.
Yeah.
And it's part of their bylaws. You can't use herbicides or pesticides on your property.
Yeah.
So, Lisa, you've been on the NRCC for 31 years? Is it?
Probably. I got usurped from the Red Rocks Advisory Committee. I took over I took over my father's place when he died, after he died in '96. I've been here, except for 9 years in Vermont in Burlington as a young adult spreading their wings. I've lived here all my life.
But it says 31 years of service, but some of that on the NRCC, some other, you're saying?
Yeah, it was a common area for dogs. Technically, I'm still South Burlington's rep on the Lake Champlain Byway Council. Every once in a while, I get an email from Dan Albrecht, even though technically we're not active. But
Thank you for the years of service. But Tim kind of asked this question, but so in the past, I don't know, 5-10 years on NRCC, I'm just interested in things that you're proud of that you worked on.
I am proud of all the parks that South Burlington has. I'm really proud that, we've got Wheeler, we've now, well, I still think of it as the Underwood, but it's been renamed. We've got Red Rocks. I mean, that's such a special place. I wish the city used the beach area more. I mean, it used to be a lot more active. It would be wonderful if we could secure the Farrell property down off Shelburne Road, because that's a wonderful piece of property there. But I like the fact that, we are trying to, I mean, you've preserved a lot of land out near the big swamp area. It's important. It's important. I mean, if you saw my yard, I have wildlife running through my yard. I mean, we have deer down there, fox,
Yeah.
squirrels, rabbits, possums, groundhogs. That's all part of nature. I love it when a customer calls up and says, "What do I do about groundhogs?" I'm like, I feed mine. So we have rules in the yard. But I love that as a city, we are trying to be very conscious of that and make sure that the citizens of South Burlington have open space to be able to use. That's important. Some people may not think so, but it is. I mean, all of a sudden they'll realize, I want to get out in nature, and where do you go? I love visiting New York City, and thank goodness for Central Park. I mean, it's a wonderful place to visit. There's a lot of things to see, but boy, I could not handle living there. I have to have open space, some open space around me.
Other questions for Lisa? Have any questions for us?
No.
Any
No,
other-
although Sandra Dooley did email me and ask me if I'd think about running for city council.
Wow.
And I'm
Okay.
like, "Oh." We have a lot of issues down in my end of town. We're constantly under assault by Burlington.
Well, he should know.
Yes, Lori knows.
And, we make our decision by June 16th, one way or the other. Good. Well, thanks for coming
Well,
today.
even so, I will still continue to keep an eye on Red Rocks Park for the
Please.
city.
And you can deputize Lori too.
I can deputize Lori.
Yeah.
I love our police department. I support them and, we've always worked together down there in the fire department as well. And I see they were down there practicing this past week, rescue by water. Sometimes when people are out to the cliff, they have to bring them in by water. It's easier than trying to get out on the trails.
All right. Well, thanks for coming, Lisa.
Thank you.
We will let you know. And can I just take a 2-second break while you set up for Donna? Because
Donna's right there. Donna, you're up.
He's out. Great companies and meet some interesting people listening.
Yeah. He's like, best parts of being on. He just has so many diverse backgrounds.
There's a lot of talent.
A lot of diversity too, it's their backgrounds. I believe I didn't know. I never met you. I'm on the planning commission, Donna Laban.
Hi.
So it's like all these people, it was on committee. I was jotting names down too, and I was like, I should call him.
Well, it's like I tell people, I'm the neighborhood witch in Queen City. My birthday's on Halloween. I'm a Scorpio. Don't mess with me. I actually went out one day. There was a nature walk out there. It was right before Halloween, and I just got home from the Red Cross, and I saw the group going out. So I ran in the house, grabbed my hat, my cape, and my broom, and headed out into the woods. I surprised a few people besides just the group, like Bernie. He was out there walking with a friend of his, but.
Don't park where you're not supposed to by Red Rocks Park. Lisa will straighten you out.
They finished that new one. Yeah.
Haven't started.
If it starts.
You mean in front of the gate?
Yeah, well,
Or on the other side of the road, or at night, or.
it creates safety issues for, people who live in the neighborhood, but people visiting the park as well, because if emergency services have to go out to bring somebody out of the woods, they need that whole road. And when you've got somebody parked in front of that gate and the fire truck and the ambulance can't get by them, that's an issue.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
good afternoon, Donna. Thanks for coming. You're applying for planning commission and you're on the planning commission now.
I am. That went quick too. That's 3 years.
Do you what?
Those 3 years went very fast.
You've been on for 3 years?
Well, yeah, that was the term that I was on. Was 3
Right.
years, and I was like, what? That's up already?
Is that the total number of years you've been on?
Yes.
Okay.
So the 25 years of service has to do with your career.
Well, like Ped too.
What you put on
So,
here.
like Ped
Yeah.
for probably about 18 years.
Okay.
Something
So
like that.
it's close to
a long
25.
time. Yeah, it's a
Okay.
long time. But the two are so closely related too. It's just,
Yep.
it's like, well. It's not like planning commission takes off where bike and Ted leaves off, but the two are kind of inextricably linked.
What have you liked about those 3 years you've been on the planning commission?
Oh, accomplishments.
Give us
Oh
some.
my gosh, well, the change to the LDRs, and I'm so happy about, the state kind of pushing the requirement, to allow smaller lot sizes, higher density development. And I kept trying to relate that to anybody I talked to about, and it's like, well, my neighborhood was built early and it actually meets those requirements. And it's not that dense, because density scares people. And I think, you can change LDRs, but then it's gonna take a while before people start to understand like what it means. So I think that's been great. Starting the discussion about higher building heights is really important. Not just in the high density zones, but in places where I think there's this kind of a gotcha attitude. It's like builders trying to do things then all of a sudden. So I think the recent changes to the definitions, particularly in building height, have been really important to clarify things and just make it easier for the city to administer
Can you expand on that? I'm not familiar with.
Oh, there was, I think the big difference was it used to be existing finished grade or existing grade versus finished building grade.
Right.
And it's very, very difficult to use something that was
Was,
in the past to
can't measure again.
create the height, determine the height of something that's post, change. So that just was a common sense, and it also,
So it moved from existing to finished?
yes.
It did did we change the height or keep the same?
These haven't been voted on yet.
Okay,
but
okay,
It's
so this
one
is-
of the, it'll be one of the
okay, okay,
current
okay.
ones that's gonna be under review. And yeah, I think that we haven't been able to resolve all the issues to close it to send to city council yet. But it's getting close. And then the ones that I've always had a pet peeve about, and I finally started making some modifications, are definitions related to lighting, which have been completely inaccurate in the ordinance for a long time. And so I started, just kind of rewriting the definition sections to upgrade it to the current standards in the industry.
And did your fellow commissioners?
You've been helping
Agree.
planning and zoning rewrite those? Is that what you're trying to say? Or?
Well, it came up. See, we're only allowed to do things in the order in which they're presented. And so this section on definitions came up and I was reading through it and, reviewing everything. And I'm like, this is wrong, And so I just said to Kelsey, Kelsey, let me rewrite this and I'll send it to you. And then you can review it with the staff and everything, because I assure you what's written, what's currently in there is really inaccurate.
Right. And were those agreed and adopted?
But it's in process.
It's in process.
It's in process.
This is what sort of motivated your comment when we were talking about lighting around the school and that whole issue about.
It's what I've
safe
done
lighting.
for the last 25 years, so, kind of as close as you get to an expert around here.
Donna, I've heard you speak many times, and it reminded me when we were talking to John Muscatelli on the DRB, about sort of this community village kind of concept. You've referenced many developments that you've witnessed sort of nationally and maybe internationally as well. Can you kind of give you some of your thoughts on how that might play out or where the challenges are in South Burlington?
Well, the challenge is that, 80% of the buildable land is already built on. And, a lot of the places you can't redo something that's been done at a low density, because often, and I even have friends who live kind of in some of the older sections, in a ranch style house. It's in the middle of a half-acre lot, and it's like, well, that would be an interesting design challenge, wouldn't it? To figure out, how do you take this house and make it into 3 units? And actually, I know somebody, it's on Spear Street, who has a house, a single family house on a very large lot. And I'm like, just wouldn't that be really nice to add like 2 or 3 more apartments to this to make it into a senior living, a place where people could live together as seniors and potentially share services and things like that, because that's kind of a model that you don't see very much. And yet at that scale, I think it could potentially work quite well. So there's a lot of things I imagine designing. And so whenever we make changes into the ordinance, I'm thinking, okay, if I was doing this, I imagine a project, or I take a real project and I'm like, what if I wanted to do this? What if I wanted to add an ADU to my own house? Would that be allowed? The height restrictions, the basement restrictions. I'm like, oh, this is too restrictive. It's like, why are we making it so restrictive if we want people to do this? And so a lot of times that's how I'm thinking. It's like, I don't want to make things overly restrictive to prevent people from doing the things that we really want. So that's a lot of my perspective.
How much has your background as an architect helped you or not on the planning commission?
Well, Helen thinks it's great. Helen keeps saying, it's like, oh, you keep bringing up things that we wouldn't have thought of before. And it's that thing that I was just talking about. It's like, in my mind, I'm always designing, and I'm always like, trying to create something that's better. that's, you know, and especially when you think about, you know, how do you add density? And sometimes, you know, the answer is, well, you gotta tear down what's there and rebuild it because what's there is really making it impossible to do this right. But the other piece is just looking at, you know, even in city center, I kind of really wished I'd had the time to be on the committee that designed the form-based codes, because, you know, I think it would have been really nice if the developer or the owner of the property had been willing, you know, to have certain sites set aside for private lot development, zero lot line development. Because I said, you know, I think it's kind of what we're missing here is those smaller tall buildings with private ownership, which would have been nice because not everybody wants to rent, you know, and some people would really prefer to own their building. And, you know, we still have a lot of potential sites, particularly on Williston Road, where that might be workable at some point. But yeah, not everybody wants to rent in a.
So you think the LDRs are incenting buildings?
Well,
Rental
it
buildings.
tells you what you can't do more than what you can do. And I always think it would be great to have, you know, the kind of relationship with builders where, you know, you can go and say, hey, this, you know, this neighborhood in Burlington, this was so well done. Have you seen this? It's like, have you considered doing this? Because, you know, it's a model that we don't always see here, you know, and I think just kind of instilling that creativity. This, I just found out about this through AI Vermont, the architects organization, that the state is putting out a contract, or they're gonna select an architect to design an affordable home models for the state. Now, they're doing that for smaller lot, or for small lots and lower density, because that's most of what the state is. But that same thing could be really useful to builders saying, well, I mean, to a certain degree, you know, we're seeing some of that kind of development, but the units are quite large and they're quite expensive. And it's just like, okay, how do you scale that back to something that people could afford, and then figure out, you know, where this could happen, and, you know, look at the numbers and say, here's a model, this works, and encourage more builders to kind of adopt that framework so that we get the affordability. I think, you know, developers have a lot of resources, but they don't like to do things they've never done before. You know, they tend to rely on plans that they've done before and things that they kind of know. So doing something different is a little hard to get that through.
You also speak to the challenges that, you know, we've heard this, and we talked about this a little bit before with the previous applicant about this sort of mixed use where you live, but actually adding some light services or light retail to the community. And I've listened to a couple of your all's meetings and discussions on it, and the discussion, I don't get it. It sort of seems to be a work in progress, even as a concept.
Yeah, it's like right now there is an allowance on the end of the street. You know, if you're in a residential street and it ends on a larger throughway or a larger street, that the end of right where the two areas abut, you know, there is the opportunity for some commercial development, but just on the end of the street. Because there's a lot of definition of what kind of businesses can go where, and that's recently been modified too, and Kelsey's been very good about consolidation. There's a lot of consolidation, so you don't have so many categories, and that you're categorizing something by the kind of interaction with the neighborhood rather than the type of business, because who knows, the next great business is going to be something that we've never heard of before, you know, and who's to say whether it'll fit. I mean, a lot of great businesses start in people's garages. You know, and I lived in a neighborhood once in New Jersey, you weren't allowed to have a business in your house. It was like, what? You're kidding.
And do you see that sufficient to have this starting to show up in neighborhoods and start having these opportunities where people can to walk to sort of local commercial areas?
Or is there more impetus needed to
Well,
move on?
The downside is that if you start putting a lot of commercial in, there's a need for parking. You know, because for businesses to succeed, they need to have a certain amount of business.
Turnover.
And small neighborhoods have difficulty sometimes generating enough business to, you know, and I think the cider mill is, it's great that the market at cider mill is working.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's great because but there is parking there and, you know, and, you know, there will be a fight on your hands if you try to take any of that parking away too, you know, because I think there's some realization, you know, people still are very much tied to their cars in this community. It's one of the reasons I came so early. It's like, 3:30 traffic. 3:30 traffic with the school. It's like, it was a good thing I was going the direction and I walked part way because I didn't want to sit in traffic. You know.
The other part is that Heinsberg Road's cut, so.
It's terrible. Yeah, and the construction of running.
So we're out of time on this allotment. Any simple questions for? Good, okay. Do you have any process questions for us at all?
Oh, the only thing was that I also, and I don't know if this came through on the application, but if you are if you're lacking enough people on bike and ped, I'm happy to also stay on bike and ped only because I've kind of become their de facto writer. I write, and there's not a whole lot of people that seem to be able or willing to write, you know, articles and stuff like that.
Great.
And also, if we can get that last article that Bob and I wrote, I'm helping Erica put together the bicycle friendly communities application. And it would be really helpful for one of the answers for one of the questions if that article was published on the website or in the newsletter. You know, because a lot of people don't. I don't think a lot of people don't see stuff that's in the other paper.
Did you turn up on the bike and ped? I didn't think.
It's up in both.
Both.
It's in both, yeah. So I mean, I'd be happy to stay on bike and ped to do the functions I've been doing, which is largely the communications and writing and stuff like that. And also to I'm kind of the bridge to the bicycle club community because I'm the only member of the Green Mountain Bicycle Club who is currently on the.
So you have time to do
Bike and
both.
ped.
You'd like to do, I mean.
Well, I did. Bike and
Okay.
ped is like one
Okay.
meeting a month.
Yeah.
Which isn't, and
Okay.
it's usually the day after the planning commission meeting, so. Yeah,
Thank you for your service, Donna.
Yeah, thank you. And we'll let you know by June 16th.
well, sort of like the other applicant who said, you know, he used to be really busy working. You know, I used to be too busy, too much volunteering, but now I sort of feel like, you know, it's like, if I'm not volunteering, I don't have enough money to do all the traveling I'd like to do, so I have to volunteer.
If we went back to work, you could make more money to travel then.
But then I wouldn't have time to travel.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have time to travel or to volunteer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a kind of a. Every once in a while, I might still get another project to do this summer.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
coming. Next up is Isaac Cates for the Public Art Committee.
Yeah, I'm here.
We're trying to activate your technology in a second here.
Can you
Yeah.
try turning on your camera?
Let's see.
There you are. Good afternoon, Isaac. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for the time.
Sorry you had to sit through a lot of other interviews, but
You know, I tell you, I find it kind of interesting. I don't
okay.
know very much at all about city government, and so just like listening to people talk about their various responsibilities and the just the kind of chit chat was pretty interesting.
And I see that are you a lecturer, professor, or researcher at UVM?
I'm a lecturer, which I mean, you may know this already, but it means that I teach 4 classes a semester in the English department.
Okay. Are you at UVM right now?
I mean, physically?
Yeah.
No, I'm in my basement.
No, I just see a lot of books. I'm thinking it's like an office, space.
Yeah, it's my workspace, but
Okay.
here at home.
So you want to tell us about yourself and why you want to be considered for the Public Art Committee?
Yeah, sure. So as I was saying, I teach at UVM and I've been teaching English there for I think 17 years, kind of a while, and have been living in South Burlington for all but one of those when we were still in Burlington. And I have to admit, I applied for the committee just kind of on a fluke or on a whim. I saw a social media post that said that there was a vacancy, and I thought, well, I'm interested in public art, so I'll throw my hat in the ring. I don't have a background really in visual art. I mean, I dabble. I do draw a little bit, but I haven't done any public visual art. I used to do theater back in my college days, but that was a long time ago. But I'm interested in art. I'm interested in public art kind of a lot. I find myself noticing it a lot. And I have a kid who is 14. He's finishing middle school. And a lot of the time when we're driving around town, we'll just be having conversations about the little glimpses we get of public art. We're really interested in the painted utility boxes around town, for example. I don't even know if that's part of the purview of the Public Art Committee or if that's something that the utility.
We have someone here who knows a lot about that.
If you, Front Porch Forum will have a call for artists to do some more painting of utility boxes very soon if my composition actually went through to their admins. I don't know. My wife is the one that kind of organizes that. And so sometimes there's a little bit of interplay with the Public Arts Committee for that purpose itself, but generally not. So if you go to JC Park, have you seen that new sculpture that's there that's clear and colorful?
No, I haven't. I haven't been down there lately.
Oh yeah, it's pretty cool. And then there's one right here on Garden Street next to Healthy Living, where you can't drive your car through yet to Garden Street, but there's a big wooden structure that the developer put up. But you know, there is stuff going around the city.
Yeah, I find it really interesting. I mean, I'm on campus at UVM a lot of the week, and I'm always thinking about, you know, what is the point of this new sculpture? You know, what is it trying to convey? Why have they got it here? You know, I think a lot of the time, public sculpture tends toward the sort of neutral and almost meaningless, like they're often just kind of shapes or organic forms. And I like the idea of having public art that does more to, that says more about the community than just a kind of set of organic forms. I don't know. Again, I have thought very little about this. I mean, sorry, I've thought very little about the committee. I think a lot about public art, but honestly didn't even know how often the committee met until I was looking at the website while I was listening with one ear to the rest of the interviews.
Can you give an example of the definition of what you thought public art should serve? Can you point to something that in this Burlington area that we would all see and you say, you know, to you that makes sense because it sends a message or affirms something about this community?
Well, you know, the newish park on Market Street has those really appealing geese in it. And I like those. I think they're the right scale for a kid to play with. I think they say something about the function of that park, which is like to keep an idea of nature into a gradually urbanizing space. I was really pleasantly surprised when I stumbled on them when the first time I walked through that park was before there was any building around it at all, because it kind of went in before any of the nearby buildings. And I think they do kind of exactly what we would want art to do. They're like legible as public sculpture, and they're kind of fun. You know? So I guess that's an example.
I agree. Thanks.
Other questions for Isaac?
I think so.
Do you have friends who are interested in public art? Because we we have more slots than applicants.
I might be able to scare somebody up. I don't know. That's hilarious. I don't know. I could ask around.
It wasn't a serious question, but
Yeah.
we do have some open slots.
So,
Thank you for your time, Isaac.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. And like I said, I find this all really interesting.
so are you aware that that the hallways of the city hall act as an art gallery occasionally?
Yeah, I was just reading about that. I haven't been up in City Hall. I've seen the art in the library, but I haven't been up in the office level of City Hall before.
So part of the public arts responsibility is
Yeah.
to hire a curator who organizes and proposes shows that the committee then decides which is the best, set of artists to sponsor.
Yeah.
So, and they're in that process now, trying to find a new curator. And the previous curator has organized like, I think 5 shows that were pretty nice, some really interesting ones, so. Yeah. So that's part of the committee's responsibility, is to do that, and also create work plans and then update the city plan. And occasionally there's a block of money and there's a requirement to, select an artist for a public work that's gonna be in out in a park or whatever, and
Yeah.
and to submit or create an RFP for proposals and then pick one. So,
I mean, it all sounds vaguely familiar because I've been on faculty committees for the, last couple of decades. I mean, I'm sure it works differently than being on a committee at UVM, but I'm kind of familiar with the general shape of the process.
good. Well, thanks for applying. And do you have any process questions for us, other than the fact that we decide by June 16th?
I was going to say, I've heard that you're going to decide by June 16th.
Well, you were listening the right day. You got it right.
Yesterday I had 4 different dates and I kept getting corrected every time. So anyway, can I just ask one more question? What English classes do you teach?
I actually teach a ton of different stuff because I'm kind of a utility fielder in the department. So sometimes I'm teaching the first half of Brit-Lit or Intro to Creative Writing. I also teach a course regularly on the graphic novel, and I've started teaching courses on making comics. Huh?
Cool. We're saying that's cool.
This past semester, I just finished a course on poetic forms, which is something that I trained on when I was a grad student and hadn't been able to teach here before. And it went really well. I had this really amazing cohort of about 15, 16 kids who all learned how to write really competent sonnets within the first 2/3 of the semester. And they were doing, they really kind of blew my mind, to tell you the truth. They wrote really well. I'm going to get to repeat that class next year, and I'm going to teach making comics again in the fall. I also teach intro courses. Like I have a course called Writing Curiosity that's for non-majors that is partly about figuring out how to use your own curiosity to do library research. And it's kind of partly about the value of libraries, although I don't put that in the course description.
Yeah.
And, I also teach a freshman course on nature poetry. So I'm kind of all over the place.
Oh, that's really interesting.
How do you police kids that ask ChatGPT, write a sonnet about X?
AI sonnet.
ChatGPT can produce a sonnet. It knows the rules, but the results that it comes out with are really boring. And one of the nice things about having a close-knit little cluster of kids is that I could tell. I mean, they didn't use it because they understood the stakes. And also I had them turning stuff in partway through the process most of the time. But I would have been able to tell.
Yeah.
They all have personalities, and the personality comes through in what they write. It's easy for them to get away with it in a large class where you only have them turning in 1 or 2 papers during the semester. But even then, all you really have to do is tell them they won't get credit for it unless they quote stuff and pin it to the right page number. And ChatGPT is completely unable to do that. So we're safe.
Very good. Very cool. Well, Isaac, thanks for applying and for showing up for the interview today. We appreciate it. And we'll let you know. And Good luck in the fall semester, right?
Yeah, thanks. So far, I'm just relaxing in my summer mode. Been reading
Enjoy it.
Take care, Isaac.
so many novels.
Thank you.
Have a nice weekend.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So does that complete our set for the day?
And we never heard from the woman yesterday, Yolanda, or?
You'll
Never.
leave, you'll leave?
I did hear from her. I suggested she jump on today, but I haven't seen her.
Is there any other business?
Still recording?
Yeah, you're still meeting in public. You're going to have an executive session, I think, to make decisions.
Sure.
Are we doing that now?
Motion to adjourn?
No,
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 not
no,
yet.
no.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, look.
Executive session.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
gonna make decisions.
A motion.
Motion to go into executive.
Yes,
session.
motion. Oh, okay. Motion.
Just
we have
read,
a-
can you read the?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Read that.
Consider entering executive session pursuant to one VSA 313A3 for the purpose of discussing appointments to all municipal committees. Motion to consider entering. Move through.
Do we have a second? Okay, so motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 So we're now in executive session.
Thank you, Town Meeting TV.
Thank you.